All right. So, last week, because of all your performances in the AQ, as I said, I was quite concerned, all right, especially on the knowledge side of things. So, this is what we are going to look at today. We are going to blitz through this as much as possible, all right. So, Singapore story. So, in order to understand the core Singapore characteristics, which would serve in your AQ ideation process. So, how you build your points, all right. It is incredibly important to know a little bit about our history. Okay, so yes, I know history is boring to 99% of students in Singapore, but in this case, it is absolutely necessary because if we look at our characteristics, right, our core characteristics are formed precisely because of our historical experiences. So, okay, before we had this a ship that's parked on top of three buildings here, right? Before we had this particular building, if we go back centuries, when we look at Southeast Asia as a whole, right? Many Europeans came here, okay, and even before that, actually. So we are talking 14th, 15th century, all right? There was already quite a robust trade in this region of the world. So quite a robust trade network, specifically between your different empires, right? So in China, in the 14th century, that would be the Ming Dynasty, I believe. And then in Indonesia region, you have the Srivijaya Empire, right? So why would people come here to trade? Primarily because of all these things that you see here. Okay, the spice trade essentially. So you have you all recognize any of these? Cinnamon? No, no, no. Yeah. This one? Surely this one. Pepper, yes, that's black pepper. So pepper, which is a seasoning that is used basically in almost every single cuisine in the world, is native to this region. Okay, peppercorns, native to this region. The rest would be things like nutmeg. This one is nutmeg. Okay, yeah, let me just get my stylus here. This is nutmeg. Okay, peppers, Gambia, and this one. Y'all don't recognize this one, really? Y'all eat kway chap before, right? Huh? Cloves. Yes, that's right. These are your cloves. So all these spices are native to islands like your Banda Islands, Molucca Islands in Indonesia. Okay, and then of course, given that all these regions, Singapore, Malaysia, or at least what it was in the past, right? They all were connected to the trade networks that was going on, in this part of the world. So nutmeg, personally, I have never tried it before, but I think if you got to Penang, you should be able to buy like nutmeg juice. From what I heard, it's quite refreshing. I'm not sure lah. Have you all tried before? No, no, no. Maybe one day when y'all go up to Penang or whatever, y'all can go and try. Peppers, yeah, obviously y'all eat before lah. All right. Never eat pepper before. Cannot be lah. Really? Yes, right? Even your mapo tofu also uses these peppercorns, Gambia, typically used for herbal, like medicinal purposes. So Jade, right? I'm sure you all still remember her. Okay, she'll be rejoining us in May. She wants to do TCM. She'll be using quite a bit of this, I think. And then cloves used in your bak kut teh and your kway chap, all those. But it also serves, certain herbal medicinal purposes. These things drew the Europeans here. If we fast forward in time, right? So there was already a robust spice trade going on in this part of the world. Then in the 18th century, when the Europeans came here, okay, then that's where, oh, why is it not interactive? All right, it's on PDF. What am I doing? Yeah, then the Europeans came here to this part of the world, okay, to establish, or rather to take further advantage of the spice trade here, sort of like the House of Harkonnen, right? And the way that they did it was quite similar also. Okay. Yeah, what was that line? My desert, my Arrakis, my Dune. Have you all seen Dune before? No? Yes. I finally watched part 1. Quite excited to watch part 2. It's subjective. That's what I would say. Yeah. You might find it boring, but I would say give it a try. The visuals definitely, yeah. So, okay, anyway, moving on to this part, right? Colonial history, the speed run edition. To put it very simply, all of these things you all should have learned in Sec 1 and Sec 2 already, right? Or if you all took pure history in secondary school. But long story short, you all know who this guy is, right? Do I need to tell you all who he is? No? Okay. If you are still wondering who he is, there's a statue at Boat Key. You can go and find out in your own time. This guy, this one not everyone might know. Nobody, yeah. Sorry? William Farquhar, yes, that's right. He's the first sort of like proper administrator of this island. So actually, if you want a statue of your previous colonial masters, it should be this guy. It shouldn't be Raffles, in my opinion. But whatever, okay? So 1819, they came over, right? They established a free port, and then they created 4 ethnic quarters. This is Chinatown. All these are real photos, by the way. This is Kampong Glam. This is the Sultan's Palace. I'm sure you all recognize this. No. You all never go to Kampong Glam before on road trips. Field trips last time. This one. Really? Your primary schools or secondary schools never bring you all before, man? Like to Kampong Glam? Okay. Because this is the Sultan's Palace. Wait, let me go and today it looks like this. This is the Malay Heritage Center. Today it looks like that. Maybe different color scheme, I don't know. But yeah. Y'all have never been? Have y'all been? No? No? Okay. It's like somewhere near here. It's like behind this mosque. Y'all recognize this mosque, right? Yeah. Okay. So Kampong Glam is the other ethnic quarter. Then this is Geylang Serai in the past. Y'all know where that is? Near lah. Not exactly at Geylang, but near Geylang. Alright. It's closer to Paya Lebar area. Okay. Or in between Kallang and Paya Lebar. Alright. Quite an interesting place. Then finally, the last one, Little India. So why do I want to talk about this? I'll explain later on. Okay. We are not going to watch this video, but in your free time, y'all can access this video on the soft copy version and go and watch that. Okay. It's one of those, colonial videos, the old-timey kind of archive videos. Have you all seen those videos before? Yes, no, like there'll be this weird guy with this weird voice. Later on, if we have time, I might show y'all. Okay, so this is the context of the colonial history. All right. So what is the implication of this? In short, because of the spice trade, okay, for interstellar travel, all right, and the establishment of a free port and the establishment of Singapore as a crown colony, all right, under the Strait Settlements. So in case you are wondering what the Strait Settlements is, where's Google Maps? In case you are wondering what the Strait Settlements is, right, it's a network of crown colonies along the Malacca Straits. That's why it's called Strait Settlements. Okay, so it's Penang, Malacca. Where is Malacca? I think there's one more. I always forget the last one. Is it Dinding? I can't remember. And of course, Singapore. So these are the colonies that were under direct rule of the British. That means the British came, they had an administrator, and they are directly administrating these areas. All right. For this one, the H2 history students should know. Should know. If y'all don't know now, y'all know. But it's not the most important thing. All right. It's just for context. Okay. So because of this colonial history, that's why you have so many ethnic sort of enclaves coming here to this part of the world. Right. And with the establishment of the free port, and y'all know the story, right? The connecting China and the rest of the world. And of course, the opening of this part here. You all know what this is, right? Yeah, Suez Canal. Okay. In 1867, I believe. That further cut short all the trade, sort of like a shipping timing. So they would come from here. Right? This part of the world, Europe. They would come down here, go across the Suez Canal, and then come here. Okay, they'll travel along this side. So Arabian Sea, Bay of Bengal, and then they'll come down here, down the straits. Okay, then they'll trade with China here. All right. That's why you see so many migrants coming in. Any questions so far up to this point? No? Okay. So fast forward, we are really doing a speedrun edition, right? Glitching some parts to really move forward quickly. Key formative events pre-independence in our 20th century, and the history that we experienced that. Obviously, this is a very, very, very condensed version, but these are some of the key events that determine how our government behaves in the modern day. All right. So clearly, y'all know what this is, or y'all can tell what this is. What is this? Yes, World War II, right? Japanese occupation and all the Sukching stuff that occurred there. Okay, who doesn't know what Sukching is? You don't know what Sukching is. Anyone else? Andrea? Sorry? Oh, she knows. Okay. Sukching, basically, how do I put this delicately? The Japanese would gather up a lot of Chinese men and kill them, yes. They'll bring them to Changi Beach, get them to dig trenches, and then kill them row by row. Yeah. So, sidetrack, do you all know why they persecuted the Chinese so much? Sorry? Correct. Then? Yeah, correct. Okay, so basically a lot of overseas Chinese, including those in Singapore, right? So y'all will have heard of people like why am I spacing out on his name? Lim Bo Seng, I think. He has a fountain dedicated to him, right, at Mariji Reservoir. They were funding a lot of the resistance efforts against the Japanese Imperial Army back in China. And obviously China themselves were fighting very, very what's the word that I'm looking for? They were just fighting back against the Japanese and resisting in such a strong manner that the Japanese could not fully conquer the entire, China, right? So for the H2 history students, Mao Zedong and Jiang Jieshi, Chiang Kai-shek, Mao Zedong, they stopped their fighting and then they reunited for a while against the Japanese. So that's why when the Japanese came here, they saw a majority Chinese population. They persecuted the Chinese, all right? That's one of the major sort of like historical tragedies that we experience. If you go to, where is that place again? God, why am I spacing out on the name of that place? Fortune Center, around that area. Okay, y'all will be able to find a plaque that says that here Sukching took place. If y'all go there and explore. Yeah. Okay. Then you had this. Y'all know who this is, right? Yes, Maria Hertog. Okay. So do I need to recount the story of Maria Hertog? Yes. All right. In short, she is of Dutch descent. Okay. The story, long story short lah. She is of Dutch descent. She is left in the care of a local Malay family, all right, by her Dutch parents while they fled the country when the Japs came in. She grew up here, okay, and when she became of age, that means she became an adult, she was about to be married off to a Malay guy, all right, and she herself already, took on the ways of her foster family. So she doesn't speak a word of Dutch. She spoke Malay. She was a Muslim, all right, because she's not around anymore, obviously, and the typical Malay family's way of life, right? Because her foster parents raised her. And then in 1955, I think, all right, I can't remember the exact year, her parents came back and tried to bring her back. All right, so the case went to court and the court ruled in favor of the parents, and that caused a riot, that caused a racial riot. All right, so what's the resolution? The resolution is eventually she was allowed to stay behind. Yeah, and she married her childhood sweetheart, I think. Yeah, quite a sweet story at the end of the day. But again, it was a very, very formative experience for us as a society. And finally, this one. Y'all recognize this? Yes, Hotley bus riots. The trade union riots, in short. This was in 1956 or 7, a couple of years after Maria Hertog. Okay, so why were they rioting? Because I spelled riots wrongly. They were rioting over work conditions, all right? And at the same time, should I say this? No, I'm not gonna confuse y'all. At the same time, right, all these trade unions had communist links. So essentially, you had communists causing all these things, disrupting stability so that they can achieve their political objectives, which is to create a communist state here. Or at least that's the official Singapore history version. That's the official version. Unofficially, there were a lot of contentions of all these things, but whatever, I'm not going to confuse y'all by talking about that. Okay, so pre-independence, all right, there's one more technically, but this was like right before independence, 1964 race riots also. Okay, but that race riots in 1964, Padang race riots. But this was instigated by a lot of the more sort of like right-wing political groups in Malaysia back then. Because as y'all know, 64, we were already merged with Malaysia, right? So do y'all know when merger took place? 63. 1963. Yeah, we merged for 2 years only. Hey, y'all should know lah, confrontasi. Unless you haven't learned about that yet. No? Yes? Yes? Okay. Yeah. So after the merger, confrontasi occurred, but we don't need to talk about that. Or at least not too much. So these were just some of the key events. Obviously, there were a lot more, right? Things like confrontasi that I just mentioned. Things like the 64 Padang race riots. Whole bunch of other things. And throughout this whole time, these four men, specifically this guy, right? I don't need to tell y'all who he is. If y'all don't recognize, then Lawrence Wong. Lawrence, his spirit is embodied in Lawrence Wong. That's what I would say. Okay? But this guy, he saw everything happening, through his first-hand experience. He was there when the Japanese arrived. He almost got killed by the Japanese because he didn't bow low enough to them. Okay, talk about a small dick kind of syndrome going on there. All right? And then he saw this happening as well. All right? So he and his comrades, that's what they used to call each other. In fact, PAP still does call each other that. It sounds very communist, I know, but they will be the first ones to tell you they are not communists. Okay, so he and the four musketeers here, right? They came together and they founded this thing called PEP. Okay, PEP. Alright? Which stands for puppy in some countries. Like father. That's why we have a paternalistic government. Okay? So, y'all recognize the three other men? If y'all don't recognize, it's fine. Most young kids nowadays, in fact, some people of my generation don't even recognize them also. Yusof Ishak? No. Which one? This one? Go Keng Sui. Okay, Go Keng Sui. Andrea, you recognize any of them? No, okay. This guy is Rajaratnam. And this guy is the one that most people wouldn't remember because the PAP themselves cut him out. Toh Chin Chai. He resigned from the PAP eventually. He became a member of the opposition eventually because he disagreed with Lee Kuan Yew lah. Yeah, okay. And this guy is the original Lee. Okay. So do y'all recognize like their contribution, or rather, do y'all know what they contributed when Singapore eventually became independent? No. This guy is responsible for the MOE system today, and the defense system, and the economic system. So to say that he was important is an understatement. This guy was our foreign minister. For the H2 history students, you all should recognize his name. He appears quite a bit in South Space Question, like ASEAN SBQ. Eventually, when you get there, you will see lah. Yeah, he's our foreign minister back then, and he's the one who wrote the pledge, the one that you all need to take every single morning. Yes, he's the one who wrote it. Okay. Toh Chin Chai, if you all look at this picture, you all should know already, or roughly guess what he did. Okay, he designed the flag. That's right. All right, and also, you know, in terms of ministerial work, he was supporting, I think, like the Ministry of Industry, I think, Trade and Industry, if I remember correctly, lah. Yeah. Okay. These were the four musketeers who went through all of these things and decided that we need to have a certain system in place. Okay? So some more pre-independence stuff, all right? This guy, if y'all don't recognize him, this guy is Lim Chin Siong, one of the founders of PAP. Yes, one of the founders of PAP. But why is he sort of like forgotten by everybody? I mean, all of the others died also. No, he died in 1997. No, the reason why everyone forgot him was because he was suspected to be a communist. Eventually, he left the PAP and he created Barisan Socialists. Yes, that's it. Okay? Alright? He opposed merger. Alright? He instead advocated for Singapore independence because he saw merger as yet another sort of like potential way that the Brits can control Singapore. And officially, he has communist ties also. Officially. Alright? Of course, a lot of scholars contend against that, but officially he has. Or had, rather. Okay? So, he was also involved in some of the trade unions, right? And student cadres, okay, of all the communist sort of like uprisings. Because it wasn't just the Hotley bus riots, there was also the Chinese school riots, right? Have you heard about that before? Yes? Okay. So a lot of the Chinese schools, including Hwa Chong, right? So schools like Hwa Chong, I think Gan Ning Seng, what else? I can't remember. What? Zhongzheng, yeah, that's right. Yeah, back then, all the vernacular schools, the students rioted also against like native language. Yeah. Okay. So because of this, there was like all these people, they were opposing merger. They had plans to merge on 31st August 1963. And if y'all don't recognize this guy, this was the first Prime Minister of Malaysia, or Malaya, called Tunku Abdul Rahman. Okay, so because these people opposed merger, in 1963, right before merger, PAP carried out this thing called Operation Cold Storm. Have you heard of this before? History students should have, but the rest of y'all? No? Cold store, as in like cold storage, but cold store? Yes, it was a crackdown. Using the Internal Security Act, PAP arrested a whole bunch of people and locked them up without trial. To this very day, this thing is still, around in Singapore. All right. So you know the recent case of this kid who wanted to go and chop up a couple of mosques. Y'all heard about that, right? Yeah, he was arrested under Internal Security Act as well. Okay. So this was a very, very huge political move back then because it effectively removed all the opposition towards PAP. all right? Or at least those that were very, very disruptive in terms of their political activities. Okay? So once this was done, free and unfettered, we joined with Malaysia, Singapore, truly Asia. Okay? But it didn't last. That relationship lasted for 2 years. Long story short, the reason why we were eventually booted out was because TAP wanted to, or rather, Lee Kuan Yew advocated for multiculturalism. But Malaysia had this little thing called the Bumiputra policy. Okay? So what was the Bumiputra policy? In short, the analogy I would use would be like the animal farm analogy. All men are equal, but some are more equal than others. So there was positive discrimination or affirmative action for the Malay ethnicity, which is understandable because if you look at Malaysia's history, right, the Malays for a long time were economically exploited. Right, the Europeans extracted all the natural resources from Malaya, and the Malays didn't benefit from it, even though they are the natives and they are the majority race there. Okay, so because of that, there were fundamental clashes. Lee Kuan Yew still wanted multiculturalism. Tunku Abdul Rahman obviously cannot abide by that because of political will at home. And on 9th August 1965, PM Lee cried on national television. Okay? And that also incidentally was the day that we became independent. So why do I need to talk about all these things? Okay, and again, if you want to watch the video of him crying, it's quite tragic. And I don't mean that sardonically, I mean that like literally, all right? Y'all can go and watch it yourself, okay? Download the soft copy, go and click on the link there if y'all want. The impacts are this, okay? The spice must flow, right? So colonial history and the spice trade. So because of the spice trade and the establishment of a free port, you have various communities coming in. And that created multiple cultures in Singapore. Core characteristic number 1. Okay, core characteristic number 1. Right here. Right, there you see Raffles over here saying all your base belong to us. Okay, so that's why I just now, as I said, the history is very important, because what we experienced here created our first core characteristic, and then for the 20th century, everything that we experienced, right, made this guy especially realize that, you know what is needed, right? Especially when we got booted out from Malaysia, we need strong governance. We need strong leadership. We need to take the lead and create the good life or the best life for Singaporeans. And that's how we get our paternalistic government. Okay? I mean, look at his eyes, man. Walao eh. You wouldn't want to face him down. You'll crap your pants, literally. Alright? So, any questions so far? No? Andrea?
No.
No? Okay. So, moving on. From there, right? Lee Kuan Yew said this. Now, to begin with, we are responsible for our own separate destiny. We are independent. Not that we sought it, but it was thrust upon us. Right? Because if you go and watch this video, this one here, okay, he essentially said in this video, all my adult life, I believed in merger. I believed in Malaysia. But now, that dream has fallen apart or something like that, slightly paraphrasing here. Okay? So because of this, right, just put yourself in his shoes for a moment. Imagine one shot, this is what you are left with. These were the challenges that our forefathers faced. Lost access to the hinterland, that's the biggest problem. What does that mean? All right, for some context, okay, if you all go and look at the map again here, this is Malaysia right now, right? Or Malaya back then as we knew it was this part, because Borneo back then was not technically subsumed under Malaysia yet. That occurred after merger. Okay, so if you all know your 19th century colonial history in Malaya, right? You all know what Malaya was famous for in terms of its exports? To this day, they are still famous for some of it. Rubber. Tin, yes. One more. Palm oil. Palm oil. Okay? So, Malaya had all those things. Singapore served as one of the ports. That means, right, Singapore back then would have had access to all the natural resources here. But when we became independent, that was lost. Because now we are on our own, right? You want to cross the border into Malaysia, you need to be jammed at Woodlands checkpoint for 2 hours. Just to go to JB and eat a bit of lok, right? So, that's why, because of that reason, we have zero natural resources. Core characteristic number 3. Because of this, that's why we had zero natural resources. Okay? But not only that, there were a whole bunch of other problems. We had migrant communities, right? Everybody speaking in different languages, even within the same ethnicity, right? Then like let's say, you know, one of the people will be speaking in Hokkien, then another one will say something in Cantonese, something like that. Right? So even let's say between the Chinese people, we already had all the different dialects. Okay? We had an uneducated population. We had minimal industrial development. Because whatever industries that were developed, they were only for the benefit of the previous colonial masters. Ethnic enclaves, which is related to this. And vulnerability to external threats because we did not have an army. Alright? So above all, we needed this. That's why you all know about it in H2 history also. Because of all this, that's why, once again, we have a paternalistic government. So let me show you all that video of PM Lee. No, not this PM Lee, sorry. Lee Kuan Yew. Okay, let's see.
This was a mud flat.
Andrea, are you able to hear the audio?
Yes.
Okay, great.
This was a mud flat. Swamp. Today, this is a modern city. 10 years from now, this will be a metropolis.
By the way, he was right. He gave this speech in 1965. He said 10 years from now, this will be a metropolis. In 1975, we were already building 4-room flats and 5-room flats already. Okay?
Never fear. You know, some people think, oh, well, you know, we are a small place, they can put the screws on us. It's not so easy. We are a small place. In size, yes, geography. But in the quality of the men, the administration, the organization, the metal in a people, the fiber. Don't try. That's why we got booted out, you know. If they could have just squeezed us like an orange and squeezed the juice out, I think the juice would have been squeezed out of us and all the goodness would have been sucked away. But it was a bit harder, wasn't it? It was more like the durian. You try and squeeze it, your hand gets hurt. And so they say, right, throw out the durian. But inside the durian, you know, some very useful ingredients, high protein. And we will progress.
But very heaty also. Don't eat too much durian. Okay. Who falls on the love durian train? Because you either love or hate it. Huh? Y'all all hate durian. There's no such thing as so-so one. It's either one or the other. Durian is one of those binary fruits. You love it or you hate it. Don't like? It's fine. Okay, love it, love it. Hate it. Andrea?
I only like the smell. Like, I don't like the taste.
Wow, you really is half-half. Okay. So yeah lah, you know, this is why durian is a binary fruit, you know. But okay, yeah. So y'all see like why Lee Kuan Yew was this way. Because of all those experiences, right? So we had to build national unity. So end up, what happened is this. We have our 3 core characteristics here, right? And by core characteristics, I mean the main things that really end up determining our behaviors subsequently. So our historical experiences created multiple cultures, no natural resources, and religiosity. Why religiosity? Because that came with all the other cultures. Okay? So Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, all those world religions coming in. Alright? But of course, back then the Singapore version of Taoism was much more pronounced. Okay? Then from there, because of all these, that's why we had core managerial characteristics. Pragmatism, meritocracy and equality, and a paternalistic government. These 2 things created this. These 2 also created this. I'll explain later on why that is important. No natural resources created economic pragmatism, which incidentally also forms the basis of our ideology back then. So national unity, this is one example. Okay, for national unity, yeah. All right. And from there, we established certain systems. Because we had to focus on meritocracy and equality, we created MOE, which is meritocratic, heavy focus on sciences, and the bane of our existence today, standardized testing. All right. As much as it's you know, something that we don't really like, it still has to be done. Okay. Cultural policies, emphasis on cultural heritage, bilingualism, all right, and conservatism. Nation building, you have your HDBs, economic development, NS, right, and the GRC system, things like that. Okay, so y'all need me to explain any of these things here? Y'all know all this already, right? Yeah? Okay. Unless you all want to find out more about NS, in which case I don't really want to tell you. So, okay, in this particular case, right, because of an emphasis on cultural heritage, that's why Singaporeans tend to be more conservative in that sense, because you are talking about preservation of certain traditions, customs, and practices. So, for instance, it's a bit macabre, but I've been to a few funerals recently, right? Taoist funerals. And one common practice that they do there is they will go and burn the joss paper, right? So burning of joss paper in itself, if you just look at it objectively, is a simple act of doing something. But it is more the deeper significance of it, because to do that, or the reason why people even do that in the first place, is because they have a deep belief of an afterlife. That's number one, and also a working economy in that afterlife. That's why they will burn paper cars, they will burn paper houses, they will burn billions of dollars in hell bank notes and create hyperinflation in hell. Okay, but since Singapore, we emphasize so much on like, oh, you know, you all should preserve all these things. That's why all those teachings will get passed down to the next generations. Of course, the extent of how much of it gets passed down differs, right? Especially for the younger people now. If I ask all of y'all, right, and in fact, I think I asked all of y'all before. I know Andrea is a Christian, right? Or Catholic? Or are you a Swiftie? Where is she? Nope. Hello, Andrea? Are you there? I don't know. If she reply on the chat, you'll be seen here. Yeah, well, anyway. Yeah, so what are I know the twins, y'all are free thinkers, right? Yeah. I don't think I've asked the three of y'all yet. What are your religions? Don't have. Free thinker. Tak ada also. Okay. Agnostic or atheist? No, atheist is you don't believe in any religions at all. Agnostic means you are... Sorry? Yeah. You are spiritual and you believe that there's a higher power. Agnostic? 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 Atheist. Wow, finally a fellow atheist. Yeah. Okay. I know Andrea is a backslider Christian. She said that before. Don't know whether she... Hello, are you there?
I went to the toilet.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Or is your religion a Swiftie now?
No.
No? Okay. Are you sure?
Yes.
Yeah, well, but yeah, of course, as I was saying, right, it differs. The amount of teachings that get passed down differs. Clearly, for your generation and mine, those teachings are not as strong, right? But nevertheless, all these values and the accompanying sort of lessons, right, that come with it. Because why do we even burn all the kim zua? Because it's a question of filial piety. These are still fundamental values and they still get passed down to the next generation, even if they take different forms. So that's why we end up being quite conservative as a society, because of all these conservative values, right? Oh, yeah lah, you know, go and... I keep hearing this nowadays, so it's driving me nuts. Go and find a wife lah, you know, then anchor yourself down. Then at least you get like some sort of like fulfillment in life or whatever. Then I'm just like, yeah, that's a more conservative sort of thinking, you know, things like that. Okay, so yeah, that's why cultural policies inevitably lead to conservatism. often. Okay? Any other questions here? No? Alright, moving on. Economic pragmatism. Okay, because we are pragmatic about the way we do things, we created an education system that serves the economy. That's why y'all are studying so hard to be doctor, lawyer, and engineer, right? We have, if we include Jade in this class now, there will be, but Jade is not here. It's not here at the moment. But in this class right now, there are 2 aspiring doctors already. Then the rest of y'all want to be lawyer or engineer, or neither, or you want to be a corporate slave. That's your only other option, right? Unless you want to be like me, come out and do stupid things and take risks. No. Yeah, but anyway, as I was saying, right, the education system would serve that. And in terms of the industry, this one in itself, there's a very, very interesting story there. I'm not going to go in depth, but long story short, we focused on export-oriented industrialization, EOI, all right? Starting with manufacturing. Okay, so manufacturing of consumer goods and eventually pivoting towards semiconductors, which we still make today. And eventually in the 70s, we pivoted towards value-added manufacturing. What that means is we'll import stuff, we will do some magic, and then we'll sell it off at a price that rips other people's eyes out. Yes? Sure. Or water. Water technology, yeah. Water technology is one such example. Another one is Jurong Island. No? We import crude oil, then we refine it, the fractional distillation process at Jurong Island. That's why if you go to Jurong Island, the security is very, very high. First, it's considered as key to our national security and stability as a whole. Yes, you all have questions? No? Yes? You look like you have a question. No? Okay. Yeah, but of course, it's not just that. We also have other industries, finance being one of them. Okay? Tourism. Yeah, it's different from manufacturing. When did we focus on the financial services? From the very beginning? Yeah. We focus on both manufacturing and finance at the same time. DBS, Development Bank of Singapore, right? 1971, I think it was established. Yeah. Or was it 68? I can't remember the exact date. Okay, so how did we do it? We did it through institutions, right? Through this concept called the political economy. I've said it before, but essentially a government passes laws and policies and uses institutions to guide economic development. Some of the institutions that we did it through would be things like JTC, not Jurong Town Council, Jurong Town Corporation, all right? MOF, Ministry of Finance, EDB, Economic Development Board, DBS, Development Bank of Singapore, right? All these institutions. Okay, so we focus on industrialization, and then of course, since we focus on export orientation, right, we had a globalized economy, right? Emphasis on foreign direct investments. Do you take econs? You don't take econs, so you don't know what FDIs are. History also have, but do you know the definition of it? No. Okay, FDIs are for the benefit of Zijun here. In short, companies come in and then they invest in other companies here. They can do it in various ways, right? But most of the time, the easiest way to understand it is whereby corporations come in, they create an office, or they invest in a subsidiary, and then they create jobs from that, from direct investments. Okay, so job creation and supply of skilled labor, right? That's where the education system comes in. Constant innovation as well. So in the 90s, we pivoted towards a knowledge-based economy, and we are still on that track today. That's why y'all need to study so damn hard to go and get a degree. All right. And technology also, we focus on technological advancements and things like smart nation. Okay. Why? So that we can keep ourselves competitive. Any questions here? No. No? Okay, moving on. All right. So we finish this bit, then we can take a quick break. And finally, paternalistic government. What does that mean though? It also means the creation of sort of like a relative to global human rights sort of comparison. We have draconian laws. Things like what? ISA, I just talked about it just now. Sedition Act, which actually technically every country is also have. Paternalistic, that means we decide what you do. Yeah. It's not dictate, it's the government sets up a system and then they guide the lives of the citizens. They interfere in certain aspects of the citizens' personal lives, but they don't dictate. They say this is what you can do. You want to do something else, that's fine by me. Like, let's say you want to go and set up a tuition center. Okay, but all the SME grants, you won't be eligible for it. Yeah. Because the SME grants are reserved for companies doing technology. Sedition means to prosecute somebody for treasonous act. So that's why I say every country technically has it also. Yeah. But in our case, there's something quite unique here, which is that if you want to commit any sort of acts that would disrupt racial harmony, right, or religious harmony, it is considered seditious. It is considered a threat against our national security. That's how seriously we take our policy of multiculturalism. That's why that Ngee Poly ex-lecturer, he got off quite light already, in my opinion. Yeah, that racist scumbag. You still remember, right? That case from 3 years ago. Yeah. You know, there was this guy who went up to an Indian guy and say, hey, you shouldn't be dating a Chinese girl. She's not even fully Chinese, she's half Chinese. Half Chinese, half Thai. Then that fella, I think, was half Indian and half something else. I can't remember what. Filipino, yeah, that's right. It's like, hey, this... I mean, it's... Exactly. I mean, it can't get more interesting than that, right? He got fired. Sorry? How is he now? IDGAF, that's what I would say. Yeah. I know he went to jail for a while lah. That's all. But it's a cautionary tale, certainly, for our society at large, because you still have a lot of closet racists around. One of my ex-students also from 2 years ago. Sorry? He was a racist? No. He was a victim of racism. Yeah, because he's an Indian student, right? His family is the only Indian family in that particular bit of the HDB block. His neighbors all Chinese, and they have done quite a lot of racist shit towards them. Yeah, my student told me lah. Then I was like, then why are y'all not reporting this to the police? They did, but the police can only like manage so much. Because you can't dictate other people's behaviors if they choose to be like that, you know. So that's why we have such draconian laws. If it comes to light, that people want to pull this kind of stupid crap, then we won't go easy on them. ISA is when it becomes especially dangerous, when there's a threat of causing bodily harm. Like that kid with the barang. Okay? And we also have a fine culture. By fine culture, I mean whatever you do wrong, you're gonna fine lah. Okay, but that's not too bad, right? That's not too bad. But this one is the one that's especially controversial among your more progressive and liberal circles in Singapore. Capital punishment. So if you smuggle drugs, you will get hanged until you die. You kidnap, you will gonna hang until you die. You murder somebody and it's first degree murder, you will gonna hang until you die. You carry drugs over a certain amount, you're gonna hang until you die. That means there is intention, there is motive, and you did the act and the person died. Yeah. That one you need to consult a lawyer. Yeah, I'm not too sure. I only know the first degree one. Yeah. Because there's also like different terms for it. Like murder is like you kill someone with the intent of killing them. Then there's also manslaughter, which means you killed someone but maybe you didn't have the intention. Yeah. You can go and find out all these things. But in Singapore's case, we do still have the death penalty. Okay? This one goes against a lot of human rights things out there. ISA especially, because the right to a trial to defend yourself before a court of law is a fundamental human right under the Human Rights Charter. Okay? But Singapore, we have this law, ISA, whereby if you are deemed a threat, we'll just lock you up. You want a trial, forget about it. You want to be free, it depends on the whims of the president. President, not prime minister. But who's the president? Who was he before president? Deputy prime minister. So it's at the whims of the TDEP. Like they decide. Like their whims just means like choice. That's what it means. But to be more specific, whims also means choice, like making certain choices at random. So if let's say you are feeling whimsical one fine day, that means, yeah, not say impulsive, you just think like, you know what, it's a lovely day, let's go for a walk. So you're walking on a whim. That's what it means. Okay, of course, obviously, I'm kind of being sardonic here. The president can't make all these choices willy-nilly, right? They have to properly go and review the case, okay? And of course, that also means low press freedom. That's why you get boring ass Channel 5 and Channel 8 dramas every time with the same damn themes, right? A guy is found cheating on his wife, and then afterwards, a very, very poorly acted argument ensues. And the camera stays static. And then, yes, let's not get into that. Okay? But low press freedom, in short, that's why you only have CNA and Straits Times. And one of them, I'm not going to name which one, is not exactly the most reliable source. The initials are ST. Make of that what you will. And finally, we are incorruptible, or rather, precisely because, and that's PAP's rationale. Precisely because we need to have a paternalistic government, that's why we must be incorruptible. Because whatever the government does has to be for the benefit of the country. Whether or not opposition disagrees, that's another matter altogether, because it's a question of execution and question of policy ideas, right? But they must be incorruptible, and the driving force of it must ultimately still be for the benefit of citizens. Okay, so they must not accept any Arsenal Tottenham tickets. Huh? How is that politics? Alleged bribes lah. Alright? Alleged bribes. Okay, or what else? Tickets to the F1 Skybox. Or another Tottenham and I think Liverpool ticket also. Or Tottenham and Aston Villa. Sorry? No. I'm talking about matches that occurred in the past. Yeah. The government cannot do this. Then the government also cannot hanky-panky with another MP. Yeah. I think you all know who I'm referring to lah, huh? Alright. Even for opposition also, you cannot anyhow hanky-panky, okay? Alright. If not, people will take a video of you eating at a restaurant, laughing, ha ha, holding each other's hands in broad daylight. No, it's more of like, because they are a paternalistic government, that's why they set a standard for themselves, that they must be incorruptible. But this is unique to Singapore. Yeah. Because the adage is that, you know, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Right? If the government is going to write a constitution that gives itself so much power, then the PAP's rationale, which was what the four musketeers came up with, right? These four. Yeah, you know what? Never mind. Lazy to scroll up, right? These four, okay, they decide, yeah, if we are going to make sure that we want to take so much control, then we must be incorruptible. So we cannot have business deals with businessmen trying to bring F1 into the country. Okay? Any questions? No. All right. If no questions, we can go for a quick break. Let's come back at 12:20. Okay. Are there a lot? I mean, are there a lot of upcoming concerts? No more. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, after Bruno Mars, there's always NDP, right? Yeah. As in another concert y'all can go and enjoy lah. Sorry? With whom? Doing what? Perform what? Sorry? Only J1s. Y'all hang ah. Walao eh. Yep. That's NDP for you. No. It doesn't matter. I can tell you the reason why I say it doesn't matter is because a lot of NSFs also gonna rope into NDP every year. It doesn't do shit for their resume also. Yeah. Why? Because you just go there and do shit work only ma. Saikang. Right? Yeah. In reality I'll just tell you all right now. In reality, right, your resumes and your educational information and your co-curricular activities will matter for your first job. Beyond that, no. University applications, it matters somewhat, especially if you are staying in hall. then yeah, they'll be like, oh, okay, so if you are a participant of all these CCAs, then maybe you can go to the hall and do the same things. Yeah. Like the hostel. Yeah. Because if you stay in the hostels, it's not like, is it worth it? I'm the wrong person to ask because I never did stay in the hall. Yeah. But what I would say is it depends on you, I guess. If you want to have a well-rounded uni experience, including being possibly a victim of voyeurism, then go right ahead lah. Yeah. But otherwise, if you're just there to study and get the degree, then you stay in hall also no use. Unless you, maybe for you it might be worth it because you live so damn far away. Yeah. Especially if you end up going to NTU. NTU is all the way on the other side of the island. Yeah. NUS still not too bad. Sorry? NTU. If I drive, it'll take me 20 minutes to half an hour. If I drive within the speed limit lah. Usually I don't, but yeah. If you take a train, if you take public transport from here to NTU, including waiting time, it will take you at least 1 hour plus. From here, so from Hougang. Pioneer. Yes. Yeah. 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 It's either Pioneer or Boon Lay. Then you still have to take a bus to transfer in. Yeah. And inside, there are a lot of different bus stops that you have to take to. Depends on where you go. Yeah. Okay lah, but NTU, okay lah. You know, not too bad. Alright, so let's continue. Okay. So throughout the years, all these characteristics remain. Actually, to this very day also. Right? And then, of course, you had a changing of the guard. Right? So the OG leaders, they set up the systems. Successive generations maintain the status quo while seeking ways to improve our lives. And throughout this entire period, since 1965, okay, economic growth and high standards of living were the most important things. Yes, y'all have a question? Okay, then can y'all please not talk at the back there? Alright. So, first G leader, this guy. 2G leader, the one that all of y'all forget. Go drop down. Okay. Who? Sorry? MRT. He oversaw the construction or the expansion of the MRT system. What else? Let's see. He created a new ideology for Singaporeans. 5 shared values. That's one of your history examples, by the way. Yeah. Okay. Other than that, he pretty much, he continued the path of economic growth. He brought about Singapore's second phase of economic growth, in short, by focusing on the transition to the knowledge-based economy. Because that's when we decided to pivot, and it was under his leadership that happened. Then for Lee Hsien Loong, it was the technological advancements, the implementation of smart nation. If we are talking like just strictly in terms of economy, right? And more social safety nets that occurred under him. But everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Okay? 2011 general elections. So I just want to paint a picture here, all right? Y'all see this rally over here, PAP rally, okay? Actually, no. This is an opposition rally in 2011. So I think I already mentioned this to some of y'all before, but the context of the 2011 general elections is this, all right? There were a lot of grievances over a number of issues. Transport. And I told y'all the story about me having to take 2 hours to get to school every day, right? Immigration, costs of living, CPF, and of course the paternalistic way of governance. Okay? Then those things are the biggest issues in 2011. So at that point of time, support for the opposition was really all the way up there. And this was also the year that Nicosia became very famous for the right reason. Y'all know who is Nicosia, right? Yes. The one that was involved in the affair. Okay? With what, sorry? Leon Pereira, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay? So that's when she became famous for the right reason. In a sense that she got a lot of support. She got a lot of support, yeah, from the Singaporeans. Okay? Back then she was still a member of the SPP, Singapore Progressive Party, I think. And then afterwards she went to join WP. Right? This is a WP rally back then. They had unprecedented support, and that was the year that Aljunied was lost to the WP, and they booted out George Yeo, one of the best foreign ministers in Singapore's history. Yes. That was how much the Singaporeans wanted change back then. That was how much we wanted change. So let me show you all this video. I'm not going to show you all the whole thing, but this is PM Lee's response to the press conference. The press conference response to the election results. All right. This thing occurred in my A levels here. I still remember very clearly because I went to one of the opposition rallies back then, SDP, and I listened to them for 5 minutes and realized that their party is a joke. Singapore Democratic Party, SDP. Yeah, I went there, I listened, and I was like, never mind, because they were just griping, where are the policy measures? Yeah.
Singaporean.
Oh, wait, hang on. Hey, Andrea, can you hear the sound?
The voters
Yeah, I
have
can hear.
decided, and I'm honored that they have once again entrusted the PAP with a clear mandate to form the next government. Overall, the PAP has won 60.1% of the popular vote and 81 out of 87 seats. I thank Singaporeans for their confidence and their strong support, and we will serve responsibly and humbly to the best of our ability. As the government, we will do our utmost to improve the lives of all Singaporeans as one people, one nation. This is a watershed general election. It's taking place after 5 very eventful years. This is a very different world in 2011 compared to 2006, and a very different Singapore. We've gone through a roller coaster ride. We've been exposed to stresses and uncertainties from the globalized economy. And also, we are undergoing significant changes in our society. In terms of demography, there are more younger voters with better education and different formative experiences from previous generations. But at the same time, we also have an aging population with more retirees and senior citizens who are concerned about living costs and especially their own healthcare costs.
If that sounds familiar, it's because that problem obviously is still ongoing. And it's even worse nowadays. Okay?
All Singaporeans of different strata and groups have high aspirations and expectations. And many of them wish for the government to adopt a different style and approach to government in keeping with the new generation and the new era which we're living in. And I think many of them desire to see more opposition voices in Parliament to take the PAP government. The social media has also had an impact in this election, much bigger than in previous elections. So this election marks a distinct shift in our political landscape, which all of us must adjust to. Not only the political parties, but Singaporeans at large.
So why is social media such a big thing for this year? I told you all about this before. When was the smartphone invented? – 2008. So within 3 years, you see the rise of social media, right? On all these smart devices. That's why all these changes occurred so quickly. Okay? CK, purpose. Yeah. Alright, for the 2 history students here. Because, how do I put this? It's not the importance of that region, it's the symbolism of that loss. Because the opposition has always been mostly limited to a few areas. Potong Pasir, back then, now not so much. Then of course Hougang. Yeah, Hougang. The northeastern areas and the southern eastern areas back then. But Potong Pasir, when Chiam See Tong stepped down, you know, the opposition hold there weakened. Then WP continued to consolidate their positions by adding Aljunied. So what we are talking about here is the opposition party taking another step in entrenching their own influence. Where is Aljunied? Around the east north, yeah. Correct, it's progress for the opposition party. Yeah. So in 2011, almost every single GRC was contested except for one. You all know which one? Just take a wild guess. Sengkang? No. 2011. Or there may be more than one, but I'm pretty sure there's confirmed one that was not contested at all. One GRC. If y'all don't know, it's okay. No. Tanjong Pagar was not contested. That means nobody fielded opposition against the PAP MP at Tanjong Pagar. Yeah. Because the MP at Tanjong Pagar was Lee Kuan Yew.
Oh.
Who the hell will field against him? I wouldn't also. Yeah. Okay? So because of all this, right, that's why you see the government, the way that they communicate all their ideas now, very different. Maybe y'all might be too young to remember it. Because 2011, y'all were 5. Yeah, definitely too young, right? I remember back then the government was a lot more paternalistic in terms of the way they communicated. Yeah. But after 2011, things changed. And then, of course, now you have this guy, right? Yeah. It could have been this guy. It was almost this guy. Bro, you don't know, you don't recognize this man. He's your MOE, bro. Minister of Education right now. Chan Chun Sing. The Ki Chiu guy. It was almost him. this is recorded, so I won't say anything. Because it's going on my YouTube. Yeah, I'm not gonna make any comments. What I would say though is that Lawrence Wong is a bloody brilliant pick. It was between him, Chan Chun Sing, and Ong Yi Kang. These three. And Lawrence Wong won out. Yeah. Actually, it was supposed to be Heng Swee Keat to be our next Prime Minister. But he had a health scare, I think, a couple of years ago. So he decided, like, I'm too old for this job. Because he's not, say, very young also. I think it's like 60. Yeah. Then, that's why he decided to step down. And then he will support from behind. And then they picked this guy. Why did they pick Lawrence Wong? Because of his work during the COVID-19 crisis. He was a member of the MMTF, the Multi-Ministerial Task Force. Yeah, it was him, Gan Kim Yong, Chan Chun Sing for a while, and then it was Ong Yi Kang. Yeah. Yeah. So he's confirmed our next PM already, by the way. He's going to be a Prime Minister in November this year. How long will he last? Is it 1 year? Or at least another 5 years? Who knows? Because the elections are about to take place already. Okay? And PAP at the moment is facing quite a challenging election ahead. That's what I would say. Yeah, for better or for worse lah. But it was almost him. It was almost Chan Chun Sing. Almost. Alright? Just like how in this particular case, everybody wanted, okay lah, I'm kind of exaggerating, but I personally wanted Mr. Tharman to be a Prime Minister. Then the PAP very smart. What did they do? They put him as president. Then end up, who won? Yeah lah, Tharman won lah. By landslide lah, 70%. Yeah. Okay? So, what then are the salient problems of today? Right? Because of all these characteristics that we talked about previously. Alright, and this is where y'all would want to start to bridge all the links already, okay? Our pursuit of economic growth, okay, eventually led to economic inequality. Right? And this one is not say, it wasn't like a deliberate choice. I mean, who the hell would want to deliberately create inequality? Oh, okay lah. I mean, unless you're a scumbag dictator, sure. But in most nations, if the government's job is to take care of the long and short-term needs of the citizens, right, according to the base framework, pursuit of economic growth, typically we also want to do it without compromising equality, economic equality or equity as a whole. But in the case of Singapore, it's becoming more acute, right, and it's more related to in more modern contexts, is more related to global economic changes. Okay? But nevertheless, this problem is here. Increased social tensions from immigration. Not as bad. Now it's not as bad as it was in 2011 and 2013, but it is still there. Especially, you know, social tensions against the more higher net worth individuals, high net worth immigrants that are coming in. All right. Not the worst problem. Cultural clashes. Also not the worst problem, but it can eventually, if it's not managed properly, it can still become a very, very acute problem. And all these things came to light, especially during COVID, right? That stupid lecturer, ex-lecturer, as well as that crazy lady who was hitting the gong when her Indian neighbors were praying. Still remember that case? No? Go ahead and search. Crazy lady gong hitting Indian prayer. Yeah. Alright, that one is really a 小对 case. Okay, but it's not just between your ethnicities, it's also between nationalities, different communities, especially as our country is opening up again, right? And we see more immigrants coming in, or just people coming here for MICE events or work or whatever. There is always a potential for this. And especially when this is fueled by global changes like anti-globalization and all that, which I'll talk about later on. And this one is the most acute problem right now, high cost of living. Okay, and this is related once again to more recent events that created inflation. All right, and of course, GST increase because of COVID, and also wage increases. All these things I already mentioned it in the budget videos that I made. You want more detail, go and watch those. Okay. All right. Other problems, poor mental health. Okay, because kids nowadays have so much pressures on them. That's why I can make a living. All right, for better or for worse. Yeah lah, that's why you all are here, right? But at the same time, that also leads to poor mental health. Okay, or in some cases, just like kids, they play so much games and then they end up being socially isolated. Yeah. Okay. Pretty sure you all may have seen some cases like that before, right? Are you feeling very cold? No? Okay. If you are cold, let me know. All right. Aging population, like I said just now. And the reason for this, why is my stylus not? Okay, there we go. And the reason for this, right, is a couple of things. Number one, our education system, right? The way that we established it. Because in the past, girls were not allowed to go to school. Now, dual income families are the norm. So, I think I asked you all this before, right? You all study so hard, get a degree, go out and get a job. Will you want to get married immediately? There you go lah. Right? So, why am I pointing towards social isolation? Pointing towards this. Alright? So, because of high levels of education, right, people will end up prioritizing their careers. They get married later, they have kids later, they have fewer kids because of high costs of living, and then aging population occurs. Right? And with that comes all these impacts of rising healthcare costs. Like, I don't know if y'all know about the current shortages of hospital beds in Singapore. Like, if you want to find a hospital bed nowadays, sometimes you can even wait up to 2 or 3 days. 2 or 3. If you're in a public hospital, if you go to private and you have the money for that, by all means, go ahead. Right? That's why we are building another hospital at Tengah in the west. Okay? But not just rising healthcare costs, there is also a potential for lowered productivity of the workforce. Because of retirees, right? Okay, that's why we emphasize so much on retraining nowadays. If you're above the age of 40, you can go and get another diploma. The government will subsidize it. All these already in the budget videos, guys. Okay, please go and watch those. All right. Trauma dumping, no. That one is just me being silly. Okay. Yeah. All right. So these are just some of the potential problems, economic, social, or otherwise. Okay. And not only that, these are some of the more perennial problems in the past couple of decades. That means things that have been occurring for the past 20 years. Because to put things in perspective, the smartphone was invented almost 20 years ago. Jesus Christ, I'm really getting very old already. Oh my god. Okay. Yeah. But some of the more immediate current problems, even more aging population, obviously. Changing mindsets. What do I mean by this? The young people nowadays have different mindsets when it comes to a lot of the issues that we are facing, right? The way we see the world, our worldviews, our perspectives, so on and so forth, is different from the older generation already. So the government also has to manage that, right? Mental health issues, talked about it. Worsening economic inequality, also talked about it. All these are the domestic problems. In the wider context, there are all these problems that have impacts on our society as well. Number one, burgeoning anti-globalization. Not good for us, since our economy is based on a globalized economy. Rising extremism and fundamentalism. Okay, somehow we have Nazis. Again, somehow, right? So you have all these people going extreme in that sort of way and sowing a lot of hate and discontent against other communities. You have obviously the environmental crisis that's going on. Okay. Destabilization of the world order. In case y'all are wondering what this is, y'all know which country's flag this is, right? Sorry? Ukraine, that's right. So we are talking about another country invading yet another country. A significant war in Europe again. The last time that occurred, that was World War II. And then, of course, there are rumors of China invading Taiwan as well. And then you have Israel and Gaza. Okay, so all these things are happening, and worst of all, the most insidious of all, in my opinion, is this: the normalization of stupidity. All right, so the rise of anti-science, anti-expert opinions, and just outright ignorance. And not just ignorance. If you are ignorant, that's fine. It's willful ignorance that's the problem. Because certain things or certain information don't conform with people's worldview, right? So they think, oh, Joe Biden stole the 2020 elections. And then you see now USA, you all know who is going up, who is contending to be the next president again, right? Yes. No, but it's happening again in this upcoming election. It's allowed, because Trump only served one term. He's constitutionally still allowed to win. Sorry? So that brings us to, as in, if we really want to break that down, then we need to do a deep dive into the American political system and the criminal justice system also. But there are so many inherent problems there, right? And so many people that enable him because they bought into his brand of stupidity. You know, so, and this one, yes, is occurring in America. But the thing is that America is the most culturally influential country in the world. And for us, especially, we are very open to US ideals, right? So never, ever, ever, ever underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups. Stupidity can be infectious. And if you go onto CNA videos and go and read the comments, you can already see that happening for Singaporeans also. You'll get brain aneurysm from just reading all those crap. Yeah, so willful ignorance, right? Burgeoning anti-globalization, rising extremism and fundamentalism. Sorry? That means like something new and it's rapidly increasing. And destabilization of the more traditional world order. All these things create a much more vulnerable, much more volatile world in which Singapore has to exist. So where do we go from here again? Right? Sorry? Because I'm trying to be fancy. Yeah. Okay. So these are our core characteristics, and we will not really change them. If we do, then you can expect a lot of social upheaval, because if that happens, that means that our ways of life are being disrupted, right? And what needs to be done then, and actually the government has already been doing, strengthening national unity. Okay, that's why you have the dance for the 2021 NDP. Oh, like that. And there are a lot of students made memes out of it. Yeah. You also have things like what? I don't know. The nation coming together to condemn the swimmers for partaking in drugs. Okay, that's meme. No, what else? Forward Singapore exercise. Okay. Innovation, so spending in investments and all that. Okay. For technological advancements and all details, go and watch the budget videos. Strengthening resilience and sustainability of the food supply chain. We are looking at policy measures like 30 by 30. 30% internally producing food by 2030. Yeah. That's under the SFA, Singapore Food Agency. Right? Education reform. Creating 21st century learners. The syllabus that you are taking currently falls under this. That's why there's a lot more inquiry, right? There's a lot more connection of ideas. Less essay, fewer essay questions, but we want in-depth essays. We want y'all to evaluate your ideas. Yeah. Why? So that y'all will know how to think critically. And then y'all won't buy into that Trumpian bullshit. Okay? Strengthening social safety nets. We are also doing that at the moment. And yeah. Okay? So at the end of the day, right, we don't have time to look at those AQ questions already. But we have to do this in depth so that you all understand how the Singaporean society works as a whole. All these experiences and all these characteristics that we have determine how we approach all these things, right? You can see parallels once again, how we do things. We strengthen national unity once again. We rely on the global economy, yes, but we must also protect ourselves. Pragmatism at work here. Innovate, right? Not because of shits and giggles. No, because we also need to mitigate our own risks from the global economy. Education reform. We teach you all to think now. Yeah. Okay? Don't question, or rather question more now. Don't be like last time, don't question. Yeah. Okay? Strengthening social safety nets also, right? To make sure that we as a society are resilient. But everything is still anchored by this, right? And you can see that happening also. Why is it that we repeal 377A to deal with changing mindsets? But then we have this. So repeal, okay. You want to get married though, it must be between a man and a woman. And we enshrine it in our constitution. You want to change that law, take over government. Get above 70% seat in parliament. That's what the government was saying, essentially, by enshrining that definition of marriage under the constitution. Yeah. So they are saying, oh, you want to change this law? Okay, no? You'll be the next PAP lah. Take over PAP. Yeah. Right? So we are adapting to those changes, but still being mindful of this. right? Yes, we are innovating, but for the sake of survival, yes, we are getting the people to question more, but then question based on facts and evidence so that they can tell you that you are wrong. Now, okay, that's not fair also. Yeah, I'm just being sarcastic, okay? But this thing still remains. Why? Because all the policy measures are still ultimately meant to guide citizens towards a better life in Singapore. And once again, you want to take a different path, okay lah. But we already set up all these things for you. You want a good job, go and work for one of those MNCs. We got Punggol Digital District coming up, what? Right? Go and learn how to code. C++, Python, go and learn all those things. Okay? Or what else? You don't want those? Okay, go and do finance law. Right? Our financial sector is so robust. Still don't want? Look, our government sectors are hiring. Be a teacher, nurture, be a teacher. Every year 5% turnover only that's still fine, but we always need more teachers. Don't want any of all these things, then good luck to you. Yeah, so we still have that paternalistic sort of thing going, although the way that they are communicating it is going to be different nowadays. Okay? So, when it comes to the AQ points, look at the points. Think of them as outcomes. Think of them as phenomena, situations. Will we ever create such a situation as a society or not? If the author says something like convenience has benefits, y'all still remember that one, the train wreck from last week? Yeah? Okay? Yeah, this one, right? Convenience has benefits, or convenience can be harmful. You know? So if we were to take a point like this one, will our society's characteristic create such a sort of situation as this or not? No, right? Definitely not. Why? What's the characteristic? Exactly. Economic pragmatism refutes this. Because for us, convenience is a means to an end. Doesn't mean we are not hardworking, right? Yeah. See? Now you know why it's so important to understand the Singapore story? Yeah? Okay. So any questions for today? Andrea? Any question?
No.
No? Alright, if no questions, then I will see you all next week. Okay, we will work on the AQ stuff. If you all need to refer to this again, please go and watch the recording. Okay, and please go and watch the budget videos. Alright, I usually won't force you all to watch the YouTube videos, but the budget ones, I'll have to insist. Because there are really a lot of important stuff there. Okay? Yeah, otherwise, Andrea, you can log off already. And the rest of y'all, I'll see y'all next week.